Hey guys, Brendan here with Focus Camera, heading into the Focus Camera store down to the studio. We're shooting today on the Sony ZV-E10, Sony's latest mirrorless APS-C camera. Like the Sony ZV-1, this camera has an ultimate blend of affordability, usability, and power that makes it great for vloggers and content creators. And it's also really affordable at only $699. We're actually going to talk about some of the best lenses for this camera today. One of the biggest differences between the ZV-1 and the ZV-E10 is that the ZV-E10 is an interchangeable lens camera, whereas the ZV-1 is a fixed lens system. So you can actually pair any Sony E-mount lens with this camera. So we thought it would be a great idea to investigate what the 5 best lenses are to pair with this camera. Right now we're shooting on the Sigma 16mm F1.4 DC DN lens. And now that I think about it, I think I would rather put you on a tripod. Much better. Okay, so now I have the 16mm in my hand and we're shooting on the Sigma 56mm F1.4 DC DN. Before I start talking about the 16mm, I just want to touch on the lenses that we've selected today. Considering that this is an APS-C camera that only costs $699, we wanted to pair it with lenses that were of a similar price point. You could pair this camera with a full-frame G-Master lens if you wanted to, but you're really better off investing in a full-frame camera if you'd like to use those kinds of lenses. The lenses we've selected for the ZV-E10 are all under $600, and they're all APS-C sensor lenses. So let's get into it. Because of the 1.5 times crop that you get with an APS-C sensor, the 16mm is actually more equivalent to a 24mm lens. That makes it ideal for vlogging or for grabbing selfie shots like you saw earlier. However, it's also versatile enough to handle wide-angle photography or video. This is what edged this lens out over competitors like Sony's 20mm f1.8 and Tamron's 20mm 2.8. I also like that this lens goes down to 1.4, so it's really effective in low light. It's probably one of my favorite of the 5 we've picked today because it's so versatile. I can use it for vlogging handheld, and I can also use it to capture wide-angle video, photography, whatever I would like. We did highly consider the Tamron 20mm f2.8 because it is significantly cheaper. However, those extra 4mm on the 16mm f1.4 and the wider aperture make it the better lens in my opinion. If you're looking for a lens to self-vlog with on the ZV-E10, I highly recommend the Sigma 16mm f1.4. Moving on to our next lens, we've got the Sigma 30mm f1.4 DC DN. As another 1.4 wide maximum aperture lens, it's another great option for shooting in low light or to get smooth, pleasing bokeh. Again, because we're shooting APS-C, there's a crop factor of 1.5, which makes this lens closer to a 45. And that's pretty close to what everyone's favorite focal length, 50mm, the nifty-fifty, perfect for photographers and videographers. Everyone should have one in their bag. I would say the biggest competitor to this lens is Sony's 35mm f1.8 G OSS lens. The OSS stands for optical steady shot, which basically means built-in image stabilization in the lens. We tested out the built-in steady shot feature of the ZV-E10, both with and without a lens that also has OSS. But ultimately, we didn't find it to be that much of an added advantage to have it built into the lens. Ultimately, it came down to the fact that this lens is $170 cheaper than the Sony lens, offers equal if not better bokeh, and offers a wider maximum aperture of f1.4. So perfect lens to pair with the ZV-E10. Our next lens is the Sigma 56mm f1.4 DC DN, which we're shooting on right now. Unlike the other 2 Sigma lenses we've looked at so far, this lens is actually more expensive than its Sony counterpart, the Sony 50mm f1.8. However, we found that the Sigma lens offered just a little bit better image quality. If you look at some of the test images we shot, everything is crisp, clear, and incredibly sharp. It's actually really great to see images of this quality at a lens at this price range. Again, you're getting a 1.5 times crop on the lens focal length, so it's closer to an 85mm equivalent. That makes it great for wedding photography, street photography, travel photography. Gives you just a little bit more reach than a 50mm lens does, especially if you're trying to get some candid shots of your subjects from a distance away, as you may do on the streets or at a wedding. If it's not already clear from our previous two picks, we really like a wide maximum aperture. Again, this lens drops down to f1.4, edging out the Sony competitor in that department as well. It's really great for capturing very smooth, luscious bokeh, as well as that background separation that you get from a shallow depth of field. Ultimately, it comes down to your personal preference and budget, but for us, the Sigma 56mm f1.4 DC DN was the logical choice. On to our fourth pick, and we finally have a Sony lens. It's the 18-105 F4 G OSS lens, or as I like to call him, Gossy. So far we've included 3 prime lenses that have all the important focal lengths that we think everyone should have in their lens bag. However, sometimes you don't have time to switch lenses and you need a versatile and reliable zoom lens in your bag. That lens should be the 18-105 F4 if you're using the Sony ZV-E10 camera. It's incredibly versatile. It stays sharp throughout the focal length with no focus breathing when you zoom. Plus, one of my favorite features is the electronic power zoom. This is the most expensive lens in our list, but in my opinion, if you're traveling or if you only have room for one lens in your bag, it should be this one. The dynamic 18-105 focal length means I'm covered if I'd like to self-vlog, but I can also use it for pretty much any other style, from portraiture, landscape, macro photography even. Another cool thing to note is that this is not a variable aperture lens. It stays at f4 throughout the focal length. That's rare for a lens of this price with this long of a focal range. As a Gossy lens, the 18-105 does have that built-in optical steady shot image stabilization, which is handy when using with the ZV-E10 or another camera like it that doesn't have the built-in IBIS. Personally, I didn't see that much of a difference. However, it is always a handy feature to have. For our fifth and final lens, we're giving a special shout out to Sony's 20mm f2.8. This pancake does not need any syrup, it is sweet enough. Even though the 16mm is just that little bit wider, it is significantly larger than the 20mm lens. So if you're looking for something that's light and portable and easy to hold while vlogging, the 20mm is probably the better option. Despite its width, it does impressively well, especially around the edges. We're actually really impressed by the quality of images we got from the 20mm lens. The 20mm f2.8 is also very affordable, making it a great option for ZV-E10 users. That wraps up our list of the 5 best lenses for the Sony ZV-E10. While it always comes down to personal preference, we really like these 5 lenses because they represent a great focal length range, budget, power, portability, they've got it all. If you've got another lens that you think you'll like using with the ZV-E10, please leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, like and subscribe as always, and we will see you next time on Focus Camera.